It is often said that the guilty one is always the one you'd least expect. These words prove true in today's story, the case of the murder of Sandra Cantu, whose killer, disturbingly enough, might have gotten away with the crime if it weren't for their quest to get attention. The year was 2009, the place, Tracy, California. Sandra Renee Cantu was an 8-year-old girl living with her mother, grandparents, and 3 older siblings in a small trailer in a mobile home park called Orchard Estates. On Friday, March 27th, Sandra returned home at 4 o'clock p.m. after playing with a friend who also lived at Orchard Estates. She told her mother, Maria, that she was going out to play some more, which was fine by Maria as long as she stayed within the confines of the trailer park and came back home in time for dinner. By 7 p.m., Sandra still had not returned home, and her mother became nervous, calling people in the neighborhood in search of her daughter. After calling everyone in the mobile home park, her worry grew, and she decided to go out and search for Sandra, just sure she hadn't left the neighborhood, as she was confident she had taught her daughter well. Finally, after failing to find Sandra, Maria phoned the police to report her daughter missing. It had been at least 4 hours since anyone had seen her. The Tracy police responded immediately and launched a large-scale search for Sandra. Luckily, one of the Cantu's neighbors had recently installed a surveillance camera, from which police were able to gather footage of Sandra leaving her house at 4 p.m., appearing to be in good spirits, wearing black leggings and a Hello Kitty shirt. The footage was circulated in the media. Enter 28-year-old Sunday school teacher Melissa Huckabee, a neighbor of the Cantus. She appeared devastated to learn of Sandra's disappearance and seemed eager to help. She reported to the police that an Eddie Bauer suitcase had been stolen from her driveway the day Sandra disappeared at around 4 p.m., though she didn't know if this would make any difference in their investigation. Police talked to Melissa but ultimately came to the conclusion that the burglary was unrelated to Sandra's disappearance. The police then turned their attention to other suspects. They suspected Sandra's father, Daniel Cantu, whom Maria was divorcing, but the family denied he'd ever harm Sandra, and it turned out he was nowhere near Tracy when Sandra disappeared anyway. The search continued with search dogs, equestrian teams, and even a helicopter and diving teams to search nearby rivers. The FBI became involved, and a $22,000 reward was offered for information on the case, though these efforts yielded no results. The FBI assigned to the case a profile of the abductor as a white male between 25 and 40 years old, with a criminal history of sexual assault or child pornography. Angie Chavez, Sandra's aunt, spoke up about how back in 2007, an older man at the community pool came up to Sandra and kissed her on the lips. The man, who was in his 60s and still living at the trailer park, was interviewed and ruled out as a suspect. Finally, the murderer revealed themselves. During a vigil for Sandra, a hyperventilating Melissa Huckabee, the woman who'd reported the missing suitcase, came to the police with a note that read, "Cantu locked in stolen suitcase, thrown in water on Bachetti Road and Whitehall Road. Witness." The note had misspellings and seemed fake. The police at first believed Melissa was trying to gain attention by presenting a false lead, but nonetheless searched the place the note specified. There, at the site of an irrigation pond, they found Sandra's body in the Eddie Bauer suitcase that had belonged to Melissa. At the time of this discovery, Melissa, who had a history of mental health problems, including borderline personality disorder, bipolar disorder, and schizophrenia, was in the hospital, as she claimed to have swallowed an X-Acto knife while sleepwalking. Melissa was known for lying to get attention, and the hospital indeed found she hadn't swallowed any X-Acto knife. In addition, she had committed criminal acts before. Once, for example, she drugged her 37-year-old ex-boyfriend at church with a drink laced with Xanax and Ativan and left him in his car at a McDonald's drive-thru, where he was charged with driving under the influence, though he couldn't remember ever getting behind the wheel. It was uncovered also that in January 2009, she drugged a 7-year-old girl, whom she had taken from the trailer park to a Wendy's, though she returned the girl safe and sound. The girl's urine tested positive for the same drugs that were found in Sandra's body. The police got a lead from a retired U.S. Marine and his wife, who claimed they saw Melissa at the irrigation pond, looking hurried and distracted on the day that Sandra disappeared, and that Melissa told them she was making an emergency stop to urinate. Upon questioning, Melissa tried to make it seem as though an accident had happened, that Sandra was playing hide-and-seek in the suitcase, suffocated, and Melissa panicked and disposed of the body once realizing what had happened. This clashed with the condition in which Sandra's body was found, though, as she had been badly beaten and sexually assaulted with a foreign object. The police searched Melissa's home and found a notebook with a ripped-out page and paper matching the note she'd given them. They also searched the church where Melissa worked and uncovered her weapon, a rolling pin with a bloody smudge and a bent handle, which tested positive for Sandra's DNA. There was no denying now that Melissa was the one culpable for Sandra's murder. Melissa pled guilty to first-degree murder and kidnapping and was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. She never, however, admitted to sexually assaulting Sandra. At her sentencing, she made this statement: "I still cannot understand why I did what I did. This is a question I will struggle with for the rest of my life." It just goes to show that not everyone needs a clear motive to harm an innocent child, nor do they need to be male, like the FBI initially believed the perpetrator to be. May Sandra Cantu rest in peace, and please keep her family in your thoughts as they continue to mourn. Thank you, guys. Stay safe out there. And remember, don't get scared out of sorts.